She called me by another man's name. I followed her to his apartment. What I found rewrote my life.
Don't miss the next twist. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell for more interesting stories like this.
My name is Daniel Marcus. I'm 37. I fix HVAC systems in upstate New York. The kind of job that makes your back ache by 4 p.m. and your hands smell like metal and dust no matter how hard you scrub. I've been married for 11 years to a woman named Laura. She teaches graphic design at the community college 2 towns over. Our daughter, Claire, just turned 8. She still believes the tooth fairy is real, even though last week I heard Laura whispering under her breath, "Come on, kid, stop leaving me notes with $signs." We live in a brick colonial with a rust-colored mailbox and uneven steps that I always promise to fix. Next weekend. We don't have a perfect marriage, but we have a rhythm. Taco Tuesday. Grocery runs every Sunday after cartoons. Monthly date night, even if it's just takeout on the couch watching crime docs. I thought we were solid. But that illusion shattered the morning I found a receipt for $2.87. It was lying flat on the kitchen table like it wanted to be seen. A cheap, thermal paper slip with fading ink, probably fresh from a jeans pocket. Coffee. 1 small latte. Haven and Hearth Cafe. Dated 3 days ago. That's what caught my eye. The name of the place. See, Haven and Hearth isn't anywhere near where Laura should have been. It's in a town called Elmswick, 45 minutes south. Out of the way. Not near the college. Not near her sister's place. Not on the way to anywhere she would normally go. But on that same day, Laura told me she was helping her sister, Paige, move furniture. Said she'd be gone most of the afternoon. Said to order pizza and keep Claire away from the peanut butter, since she had a friend with allergies coming over the next day. She was casual. She was smiling. She was lying. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. It's just coffee, Dan. She could have stopped on the way. Could have taken the back roads. Maybe she ran an errand for Paige. Maybe it was nothing. But that seed, the one you try to ignore, once it's planted, it spreads. And suddenly, everything felt off. Laura started dressing differently. Not in any obvious way, but subtly. Earrings I hadn't seen in years. Lipstick in a shade I know for a fact she swore she hated on our anniversary dinner 4 years ago. Burgundy. Said it made her look too sharp. Now she wore it every Wednesday. Her phone became a fixture in her hand. She laughed at texts that she never showed me. When I asked who it was, she'd say, "Just Paige," or "Rachel from the department." But she never typed anything when I was watching. She'd wait. Lock the screen. Slide it under a magazine. She changed her passcode, too. For 7 years, it was Claire's birthday. Then one day, it wasn't. I only noticed because I tried to check the weather on her phone while mine was dead. Harmless. She'd left it charging in the kitchen. I picked it up. Swiped. It buzzed in my hand, incorrect pin. That same night, she claimed to be working late, midterm evaluations. But when I called the college switchboard, her office rang 12 times before voicemail. The light in her window was off when I drove past. I didn't plan to. I just happened to be near there. Maybe. She came home at 9:17 p.m., smelling faintly of bourbon. She doesn't drink bourbon. She said Rachel took her out to celebrate tenure. They had just one drink. I didn't press her. Not yet. Instead, I started noticing everything. The laundry. A men's hoodie that didn't belong to me, navy blue, with a tiny stain near the collar. She said she'd bought it for yard work. I've never seen her wear it. A playlist on her Spotify titled Morning's Herb that included songs we'd never listened to together. Chill acoustic covers. A song by Phoebe Bridgers that repeats the line, "I know what you did." That one hit harder than it should have. But it was the little things that broke me down. How she stopped using pet names. How she let calls go to voicemail if I was sitting next to her. How she never reached for me at night anymore. And I could have lived in denial. I could have told myself it was burnout, stress, the pandemic, hormones, whatever excuse men make to avoid hearing what their gut already knows. Until I checked the car GPS. Her Prius automatically logs recent destinations. She doesn't know that. 2 days before the receipt date, one of the destinations read, 7 Elmwood Court, Elmswick, New York. I clicked on it. Pulled it up on Street View. A converted townhouse with tall hedges, black shutters, and a rusting swing set in the backyard. It looked familiar. I zoomed in on the mailbox. Unit B. No name. But when I cross-searched the address on White Pages, only one person was listed in that building. Jeremy Holt. 38, single. Works in publishing. The name meant nothing to me. So I went to Laura's Facebook. Scrolled. Dug into old photos. For years ago, New Year's Eve party. She was standing in the kitchen of someone's apartment, holding a red plastic cup, leaning slightly toward a man in a green flannel shirt. He was smiling. The caption read, "Throwback to one of my favorite nights with my favorite people." Tagged, Jeremy Holt. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I wrote his name on a piece of paper and slid it into my wallet. I didn't know why. Maybe to remind myself I wasn't crazy. Maybe because I wanted to see how long it would take before she said it out loud. She still hasn't. But last Thursday, as we were getting into bed, she mumbled something. Her back was to me. Her voice barely audible. She said, "Good night, Ja." Then caught herself. Sat up. Eyes wide. Face pale. Sorry. That was from a dream," she said. My hands went numb. I nodded. Turned off the light. And laid awake until morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long it had been since she last said my name in her sleep. The day after she said his name in her sleep, I bought a GPS tracker. I told myself it was a stupid impulse. A desperate move. The kind of thing guilty husbands do in divorce court just before losing everything. But I still did it. It was small, about the size of a key fob. Magnetic. Long battery life. Synced to an app one could check from my phone. I watched 2 YouTube tutorials on how to install it under a Prius without tripping the anti-tamper system. And then I waited for her to leave. That Saturday she said she had a faculty planning brunch. She wore perfume. Not her usual floral kind. Something warmer. Muskier. She put on heels she hadn't worn since her cousin's wedding. Said she might be back late. I nodded like I believed her. As soon as the Prius disappeared down the street, I crawled under the bumper and clipped the tracker into place. I felt disgusting. Like some third-rate noir protagonist. But at least now I wasn't blind. The app showed her heading south. Not to the brunch. Not to the college. Straight to Elmswick. By the time she reached 7 Elmwood Court, my hands were shaking so bad I nearly dropped my phone. She stayed for 3 hours and 42 minutes. Then drove back. Stopped at a gas station. Picked up dinner from Thai Garden. Came home at 6:30 p.m. She smiled when she walked through the door, holding the paper bag up like a peace offering. "Hope you're hungry," she said. "They were doing 2-for-1 curry tonight." I sat across from her at the table while Claire played on her tablet in the living room. She talked about the brunch. How Linda got too drunk again. And Terry's kid got into Stanford. She lied through perfect teeth. And I listened. Because now I had more than suspicions. I had proof. I gave it 3 more days. 3 more silent nights of pretending. 3 more mornings of swallowing rage over coffee while she texted Jeremy, or whatever nickname she used for him. On Wednesday, I asked Claire if she wanted to visit her grandma for the weekend. Laura lit up. Really? That'd be so good for her. She didn't ask why. She didn't care that I volunteered to do the 90-minute drive there and back. She just wanted the house to herself. That Friday, I dropped Claire off and told my mother I'd be back Sunday. Then I drove straight home. But I didn't pull into the driveway. I parked down the block and waited. At 7:43 p.m., Laura's car pulled in. She was laughing. Passenger side door opened. Jeremy stepped out. He was taller than me. Thinner. Better hair. The kind of guy who wears fitted jackets without irony. She touched his arm before unlocking the front door. They both disappeared inside. I waited 12 minutes. Then I walked toward the house. Not fast. Not loud. But with every step, something inside me got quieter. I didn't ring the bell. I used my key. The house smelled like cinnamon and wine. Her idea of romantic back in the early days. Music played low from the speaker in the kitchen. Fleetwood Mac. She only played Fleetwood Mac when she was trying to feel young again. I walked down the hall. Their jackets hung side by side. His shoes sat neatly next to mine. Upstairs, the bedroom door was cracked. I heard whispering. Then the unmistakable rhythm of skin. Of breath. Of betrayal. I didn't barge in. I closed the front door behind me and sat on the bottom step of the stairs. I waited. Waited until they were done. Until I heard the creak of the mattress and her giggle, the one I hadn't heard in months. Then I walked out the front door. Back to my car. Hands numb. Vision tunneled. The next morning, I got a text from Laura. Hope Claire slept okay. Tell your mom I said thanks for the cookie smiley face with smiley eyes. I stared at the screen for a long time. Typed, sure. She was great. And deleted it. Instead, I typed something else. He has a birthmark behind his left ear. You kissed it last night. I hit send. No reply for 27 minutes. Then, Dan, we need to talk. I didn't answer her text. Not that day. Not the next. I left Claire with my mom and stayed at a motel out by the highway, a nothing place with flickering fluorescent lights and a broken vending machine. The kind of place where anonymity seeps through the walls. I didn't sleep. I replayed it all. Every night she worked late. Every lie about Rachel. Every coffee receipt. Every whisper that wasn't meant for me. I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt rewritten. Like my life had been edited by someone else while I was still living it. On Sunday afternoon, Laura showed up at my mother's house. I watched from the window as she stood on the porch, hands clenched, hair pulled into a tight knot. My mother opened the door and said something. Laura replied, calm, controlled. Then she looked up at the second floor window, right where I was standing. Our eyes met, and I saw it, not guilt, fear. We agreed to meet the next evening. Neutral ground. A local park where we used to take Claire when she was still stroller-sized. We picked a bench by the duck pond. Sunlight rippled through the trees. It felt wrong, too peaceful for what needed to be said. She arrived first, wearing the burgundy lipstick. I almost turned around, but I sat. We didn't speak for a full minute. Then, is it Jeremy? I asked. She looked down. Yes. How long? Silence. 7 months, she said. I let out a dry laugh. All this time, the fake brunches, the gaslighting. You were just? No, she snapped, eyes flashing. I wasn't just anything. Then what were you, Laura? I hissed. A good liar? A strategic cheater? I was scared. That stopped me cold. Scared? I repeated. She looked around, leaned closer. I didn't plan for this to happen. He wasn't supposed to be. She cut herself off. Swallowed. It's not just what you think. You're sleeping with someone else. I said. How complicated can it be? It's not just that I'm sleeping with him. She whispered. It's what he told me. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect her to pull out a photograph from her purse. A Polaroid. At first glance, it was nothing. A grainy image of Laura and Jeremy standing outside a stone building. Smiling. Happy. Until I noticed something. She was wearing the same dress she wore to our engagement party. I looked closer. Standing in the background, blurred but clear enough to recognize, was me. Except I wasn't there. I never went to that building. Never took that trip. That was taken in 2017. She said. 2 years before you and I even met Jeremy. I stared at the image. And then she said it. He told me I've been here before. That I lived a whole other life before this one. That you were part of it. But something went wrong. I stood. This is insane. Dan, he knew things he shouldn't. He said I'd call you by his name. That I'd mess it up in my sleep. That I'd find the cafe in Elmswick and recognize the smell of the espresso machine even though I'd never been there before. You're losing it, I said. You're trying to justify. No, she whispered. I'm trying to protect you. That night, she texted me one last thing. Don't go to Jeremy's apartment. He said if you step inside, you'll remember too. And he said, you won't survive it this time. The next morning, I drove to 7 Elmwood Court. Jeremy's building sat under a gray sky, half obscured by naked trees and a rusted street lamp that buzzed like a dying fly. The swing set in the backyard hadn't moved in the breeze. Nothing did. I parked down the block and walked up slowly, every step heavier than the last. I ignored Laura's text. I ignored common sense. I was tired of watching my life crumble from a distance. I needed answers. I rang the buzzer for Unit B. Nothing. I buzzed again. Still nothing. Then the door unlocked with a sharp click. No one was there. Just a dim hallway leading up a narrow staircase. Inside Unit B, the air was cold. Not drafty, cold, like the warmth had been drained on purpose. The apartment was almost empty. No pictures on the walls. No books. No clutter. Just a table, 2 chairs, a small shelf of vinyl records. And the smell, not bad, not mold, not food. Memory. Like an attic filled with things that didn't belong to you. There was only one photo on the wall. A framed shot of a woman. Laura. But she was younger. Her hair longer. Her eyes different. Brighter. Unaware. And standing beside her was me. But not quite. He was thinner. Hair cut shorter. Wearing a watch I've never owned. Smiling like he belonged. My throat went dry. I turned, and Jeremy was standing in the doorway. Thought you'd come eventually, he said. His voice was calm. Flat. Like we'd already had this conversation before. Who the hell are you? I asked. He tilted his head. You know who I am. You just don't remember yet. I clenched my fists. Laura said you've done something to her. She remembered. He said. Pieces, at least. Not all of it. Remembered what? He walked past me and sat down at the table. That this isn't the first time, he said. That you and we've done this before. I didn't move. You're insane. No, he said. I'm just ahead of schedule. He pulled out a small box from under the table. Set it in front of me. I didn't open it. I didn't want to. But I did. Inside, a wedding ring. Not mine. A watch. My face engraved on the back. A death certificate. Name, Daniel Marcus. Date, March 14, 2009. Cause, blunt force trauma/suicide. I don't understand, I whispered. He looked at me like he pitied me. You weren't supposed to make it this far, he said. Not this time. What does that mean? Jeremy leaned forward. You weren't supposed to dig. To question. You were supposed to forget, just like last time. Just like the first time. But Laura, she always remembers you. She always finds you. I backed away. You're lying. She thought you could handle it this time. That maybe the memory bleed wouldn't destroy you again. Stop. But you stepped inside, Dan. You opened the box. I tried to leave. But the door wouldn't open. The world tilted. The light flickered. The vinyl records began to spin on their own. The photo on the wall, our photo, changed. It was burning. And I heard a voice. Laura's. Don't trust the man who remembers first. I woke up in a hospital bed. White ceiling. Buzzing machines. A doctor stood over me. Mr. Marcus, you've been unconscious for nearly 30 hours. Your wife's been waiting. Laura entered the room slowly. Not crying. Just empty. She sat beside me. Took my hand. I'm sorry, she whispered. I remember, I said. She nodded. You always do. We didn't talk about Jeremy. Not after that. Not even when we buried a box behind the house. Not even when Claire asked who the man was in the old photo frame she found in the attic, the one I couldn't bring myself to throw away. I told her it was no one. But sometimes, at night, I still hear the buzzer. Still smell the memory in the walls. Still wonder how many times we've lived this life. And how many more it'll take before I stop answering the door.